the prayer hands. Dumbstruck. Mr. Butterfield waited. He did not know what he was waiting for exactly, but he waited. Just when he finally had the chance to work undisturbed, he could not seem to get going. He had nearly reached the crown of the Jesse tree, the boughs in which he would carve the family of Jesus himself. And yet Mr. Butterfield waited, and the longer he waited, the more restless he grew. His big shoes crunched the dust up and down the aisle, and even took him to the altar to gaze at the figures in the stained glass windows. As the light faded behind the windows, the saints and apostles melted away, but Mr. Butterfield sat down where he was, in the soft gloom, waiting. "Are you allowed up there?" It was the boy. "So long as I show respect," said Mr. Butterfield. The bones in his knees clicked as he stood up. Once upon a time, only the priest came up past the altar rail. People aren't so strict nowadays. He waited for the boy to ask him for a story. In the Temple of Jerusalem, only certain priests could go into the Holy of Holies, the sacred center. It was hidden out of sight by a curtain. Jesus' uncle Zachariah wasn't allowed in there. Even though he worked in the temple, Zachariah loved his work, loved his wife Elizabeth, and loved living in Jerusalem. He was a man at peace, except he had no children, and more than anything, Zachariah wanted a son. Mr. Butterfield broke off. "He was like you mean," said the boy. "Go on." Zachariah loved the temple, its soft gloom, its starry candle flames, its heady scent of incense, the quiet babble of voices discussing the scriptures. There were things in there so precious and so ancient that it filled him with wonder. But when Zachariah first saw the figure standing beside the altar and incense, he was taken aback. "Greetings, Zachariah," said the stranger with the candlelit face. "Congratulations. You are about to become a father." Zachariah almost laughed, almost wept. All his life, he and Elizabeth had longed for a child. Now it was far too late. "Don't make fun of me. I'm old. How could—" But the figure cloaked in sweet-smelling smoke held up a hand. "You must call him John. He will herald the coming of the Messiah, the Savior. He will be a voice shouting in the wilderness." At that, Zachariah put a hand on his throat, another on his heart, his aching, thundering heart. The handful of people praying in the temple looked up at Zachariah as he stumbled forward, his eyes full of candlelight. His hands fluttered like doves. His mouth opened as if to speak, but no words came out. Zachariah had been struck dumb. Even when his wife Elizabeth, half amazed, half terrified, whispered to her husband that she was expecting a child, Zachariah could only grin and nod and scratch his joy on a wax tablet using a stylus. His writing looked like angels flying across the white wax. "So who was the stranger?" asked the boy. "Well, bless me, an angel, of course. The angel Gabriel, at a guess. God's special messenger. That's how I like to think of Gabriel. I picture him breaking the news to Zachariah, then strolling down the road to Nazareth, taking weeks about it, but whistling all the way, to speak to Mary." "So why didn't the angel just tell everyone? He could have saved himself lots of tramping around. Why didn't Angel Gabriel just roll back out of the skies and shout, 'He's coming, the rescuer, your superhero'?" Mr. Butterfield scratched his chin with his chisel, thoughtfully. "Maybe it's not everyone who can see angels. Maybe it's only certain people." You could be right," said the boy with an odd smile, which seemed to brush off with one hand and to slip into his shirt pocket along with the sawdust.